3, you start making money. 4, but at 10, you can actually step back and start getting your life, and you're not in it like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can afford to put people in place.
Hi, Al. How are you doing? Thanks for giving me a call.
No problem. Glad to be here.
I'm just giving you a call. I know you've been in Linehaul for years. I wanted to hear your story, how you got started, and any tips for me getting into Linehaul as a new contractor.
My wife and I started as contractors about 11 years ago. I had been a driver for other contractors for 4 or 5 years before that, so I'd been around the FedEx system. Even prior to that, I had owned my own truck outside of FedEx and swore that I would never own a truck again. But with talking with other contractors and things in the that I had worked for, made it seem like it would be an okay idea for me, and with their success, I decided that when this opportunity arose, that I would give it a try. My wife was a little more hesitant than I was, and she didn't want our livelihood being controlled by something, so it was rough at first trying to negotiate or try to navigate through the process of from being a driver to being a contractor, because my whole mentality was geared toward, always being the driver, and so now I had to switch roles and put on different hats, so to speak. So we started with one truck and one driver on the nighttime on a signboard. Within the first year, we were up to 3 trucks, and we did $750,000 worth of revenue in our first year.
And how many trucks are you up to now?
Right now, we have 42.
Is it a solid mix of all assigned runs and unassigned runs now? Do you still keep your unassigned runs sprinkled in?
Yeah, actually it is. We've actually branched into some other areas that were, I guess, out of my comfort zone with teams. That was a thing that I had never done because I never wanted to be a team driver myself. Over the course of the years, it seems like the money's been found outside of my comfort zone. So it always benefits me to go against my gut feeling per se and just step out. And the biggest thing with that is surrounding myself with successful people and just getting advice and not taking it all, because there's some bad advice too.
Any tips for getting out of your comfort zone and getting into FedEx?
Just don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great. And that was something that was difficult for me. Grew up in a lower class home. I mean, we didn't have a lot. We were poor. Dad was the only one that was working, and it was just kind of ingrained into us that was our life. My internal voices was probably the hardest thing to overcome. So I've read a lot of self-help books, started listening to a lot of self-help podcasts and stuff, and it kind of helped to change my inner voices from being negative about everything to being positive about things.
With your business philosophy and your life philosophy, how do you deal with frustrations in your business if something's going wrong, and how do you handle problems?
I guess the answer isn't copious amounts of alcohol, even though that is tempting at times, but that's not the answer. One thing that rings in, we were into our first, what I would call, real growth expansion, where I took a chance and went and bought out another contractor. He worked very well with me to get me set up, helped me out with some good advice and some pointers and tips and stuff. But like 3 years in, he came to me and told me that he was selling out the run that I had ran for him. And it was a good run, but we didn't have a lot of credit established as a business yet, just being 3 years old. I'll say I found myself in the company of some unscrupulous lenders, to say the least, out of New York. I took out a loan to buy his business. It was $550 a day I had to pay back to them at like a 33% interest, and it was like a 9-month term. The day after I signed the paperwork for the loan, I texted my wife and told her that all the paperwork and stuff was complete for the loan, and I got pulled over for that and got a warning. And at the time, FedEx's repercussions for that was I was suspended for 6 months and I couldn't drive.
Whole payment period, basically.
For the whole payment period, yep. So my whole goal and my whole plan of paying that run back by me doing the run was out the window. And it was a pretty dark, dismal time. I had a whole lot of those internal feelings coming back of not being able to be successful, and I was at a pretty dark place. I found myself with copious amounts of alcohol one day, and I was ready to give up. and I was kind of at the end mentally. But I decided that that night when I went home that I wasn't going to let that define me as a person. If I went out, I was going to go out swinging. I wasn't just going to forfeit the whole thing. It was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my business career, because it taught me how to manage from the 1,000-foot view rather than being in the trenches all the time with the guys. At that point, I wasn't even able to take my own trucks to the shop to get service work done on them. So it took me from being a driver to being a manager. However, I don't recommend that for anybody else to have to go through that, but it was an extremely beneficial learning process for me. I learned to rely even more heavily on associates and other business contacts within FedEx, and to learn how they were doing it, because again, I came from a driving background, not from a business background, not from a management background, nothing. And I still tell people that I'm just a truck driver that owns a couple trucks.
What made you go from, you started with one run and now you're up to 40-ish?
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from a fellow contractor in Hagerstown that I felt close to. He told me right after I started to get to 10 trucks as quick as you could, because you know, at 3 you start making money, 4, but at 10 you can actually step back and start getting your life, and you're not in it like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can afford to put people in place. And being to that size, I think, has helped us weather a lot of the downturns, like where the smaller contractors, you know, when we get into the periods like the post-COVID era that we're in right now, there's a lot of people that are struggling hard with 2, 3, 4 runs. Being of size definitely helps for the sustainability of your company.
That makes sense.
It's kind of a funny story too. Each time an opportunity would arise, I would come home and tell my wife, I'd say, hey, you know, they're putting this out, or they put this up for bid, or they're giving these growth opportunities out. And her question to me always was, how big are you trying to get? What are you trying to do here? She learned after about 2 years to quit asking me that, because she's learned to, I guess, trust my judgment on things to an extent. But she's still there to reel me back in when it's comes time to be fiscally responsible. So she definitely would have helped with that.
I mean,
so.
That's what's a good partnership for, if they don't help you get in line and really in sometimes.
Yeah, when we first started, I was intent on trying to do it myself. I just wanted to prove to her that I could do it. For the first 2 years, she was disposed, her sister was sick. She said, you know, you can do this, but I can't help you yet. Another side note, I bounced a check to LegalZoom to incorporate so I could get started. I was that, I don't want to make myself look horrible, but that's the truth. So for 2 years, it was a case of me robbing Peter to pay Paul. If I had money, I would go and, you know, put it on a truck or do this or do that. My way of doing that was to get more work. So a buddy of mine told me, he goes, you didn't need to spend less money, you just need to find more money than you could spend. And that I guess was my goal, was to get more money than I could spend. So after 2 years, I went to her and I told her, I said, look, you know, this is just getting to the point. I'll admit it, I had tears in my eyes, and I told her, I said, I'm above my level here. I can't keep this up. She told me, she said, you know, I'll help you, but the deal is, you can't question what I tell you. If I tell you we don't have money for something, we don't have money for something. She says, I don't want to hear nothing about it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. We actually took 2 of those, I guess, loan shark loans out in New York, because after we got the first one paid off, I took a second one out. Because that was the only way I knew to get money to grow. It was after the second one was paid off for a while. I went to her and I told her that, hey, you know, there's another contractor here selling a nice run. I said, I'd like to buy it. We talked about it. We decided that it was a good idea. I said, well, I guess I'll call them people up in New York, because they were nice enough to knock 2% off the last time, from 35 down to 33. They might give me 31% this time. I get goosebumps when I say it, but she's like, we don't have to go there. We have the money, we can buy it. But that's when I knew that we were over the hump, and that we were to the point where as long as we didn't do anything stupid, that we were on our way to being successful. With her help, and only her help, we've got to the point where we're able to enjoy I guess, a comfortable journey now, that it doesn't have to be stressful, wondering what our settlements are going to be next week. Are we going to be able to make payroll? Do we have the money for the quarterly taxes? That kind of stuff, which is what it was when I was doing it the first 2 years.
People struggling after COVID and stuff, what do you think, and what are your thoughts on me just getting in?
I absolutely believe it is possible, especially with the resources that we have available now, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. deal, because when I first started like 11 years ago, it was more truck drivers that owned trucks. The culture in FedEx has changed from just being truck drivers to more business people, which has helped out with tremendously with the technology that we have available now to us, with people to help us, optimize our earnings and stuff. So yeah, I do believe that the success is there. FedEx definitely makes it easy to succeed if you follow their program. That was something too that we did as we were coming in. We took advantage of the opportunities that they give to us. They give us some chances to get extra points and get extra settlement money and stuff with adaptation of their new technology. That's probably the biggest thing, is just being willing to adapt and to change as FedEx changes. Keep your ears open, just definitely be aware of what's going on around you. Again, I always go by the principle that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I try and surround myself with people who are a whole lot smarter than I am and a whole lot more successful. And when we started out in Hagerstown, and then within, I'd say 6 years, we were probably, if not the largest, one of the largest contractors in Hagerstown. So that's when I started branching out and learning about the Randy Courigs and the Alex Frooms and those other people who were highly successful in multiple terminals, because no one in Hagerstown had ever branched out outside of just Hagerstown. So I started associating with people who were successful in other markets and growing and expanding out. So never stop learning and never stop growing.
How hard was it to go from being so involved, being in the terminal, living next to it, and then branching out and going elsewhere, like where the business is further away?
Not a control freak, but I like to see what was going on. I like to be involved in it. I got some very good management teams in place in Hagerstown, which is still our biggest area there. And it has allowed me to spend more time, even if it's just virtually, when we open up a new area. It lets me be more hands-on in that area with the growth of hiring people. And even if I'm not right there face to face, I can still be in touch with it and spend more time, watching their logs, watching their videos.
As you said, surrounding yourself with good contractors is important. So you are very helpful today, learning about starting out with one run and more. I'm sure I'll talk to you again.
Absolutely, anytime. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.
Hey everyone, today I was joined by Al Sheely, a contractor with around 40 trucks. He was full of insightful knowledge on being in FedEx Ground and helpful tips for building your business. Like, don't be afraid to take chances, and don't be afraid to give up the good for the great. He mentioned to not be afraid of growth and step out of your comfort zone. At 3 trucks, you start making money, but at 10, you can actually step back and start getting a better work-life balance. Finally, he shared his principle that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to try to surround yourself with people who are a whole lot smarter and more successful. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining my line haul journey.